last night. Oh, yes. I think it's a simple request to be able to pull your room behind you, behind the bus.
It was a treat.
One of the advantages, you're getting off the boat with another few thousand people, so it can be very busy. Some people don't travel well on those ships. We had just one lady mentioned she had a bit of a rough ride yesterday with the bends around the Cabot Trail, so she's taking a little rest today. And no, we won't be going round bends quite like that today. So the weather is better than it could be. It's wonderful this morning. It's not pouring. 3 blocks the other way. And some people enjoy having a little flutter. The casino Nova Scotia. And they're the home of the Cape Breton Eagles. Our sports team. We're getting another look at Sydney this morning.
Yeah, that ended up being her
Here's the newspaper, the Cape Breton Post on your right, and of course the Legion, the good old Canadian. Getting a nice look at the waterfront. Last night, I don't know if any of you had a view that one of the ships left soon after we checked in to the hotel last night. The very first cruise Peter and I worked on, we went across the Bay of Biscay in a force 11 gale. The front of the ship was actually under the waves and came up each time. And it was a Christmas cruise. There was, I think, 60 people made Christmas Day, and then they served lobster. And there was only 35 people from then on that weren't in the cabins.
So serious. Perfect. That's please.
to you, I was like, oh, like, it's written by a woman. Like, come on.
He is so nice.
He's perfect.
Waiting for the bus, and Market Spencer is a big department store over there, and in the window all there was a big cardboard figurine of Jamie in this carton quilt.
Yep. We actually have, I'm going to show you before you go, because we have his coat. The same brand that does the Outlander stuff makes this.
Oh!
Isn't that crazy?
Oh, I've got to take a photo.
It's so, yeah, I'll hold it up for you. We used to have it on the mannequin who was fully dressed like Jamie.
Yeah.
Like with the shirt and the belt and everything.
I'll have to show my friend.
It's 100% like leather.
Really?
So it's like quite a price tag, but it's still
How much is it?
It's like, it's $5.99.99, which isn't bad considering it's an entire leather jacket.
Yeah, it's
so,
beautiful.
Yeah, they do amazing work.
On the coal mine, I could tell you a little bit about it. Equally well.
Here's the bit.
You're going to learn all about it when we get back. I was trying to pick up a CD or a DVD on Rita McNeil there, but the man who sells them isn't open yet, so I'm hoping I'm going to be able to get something like that for you to watch and listen to. So this coal mine is actually on.
You know that all overseas? Yeah, you in Wales. Coal miners and ladies. I couldn't find the light switch. Excuse me. Let's have a quick look at it. I think we had things that said we had a thunder and waiting. Okay, it's 90. And she tried to wait.
No, there's not.
That's all day. Being pretty dim, there's another problem. The open flame, and that's dangerous because there's gases down here like methane that seep out of the coal. We call it fire damp, and you get too much methane in the air and whoosh, one spark or a flame from your lantern, and the whole thing could go up on you and all your buddies along with it. That's why they had canaries in a coal mine. Anyway, these were sensitive birds. And if they started carrying on, you knew you had to be careful. And if they stopped singing altogether, it was definitely time to get out of there. But those weren't the only animals down here. Actually, I wasn't thinking of the rats. And by the way, if any of you brought any food with you, you better not set it down, not even for a minute, or the rats will be all over it. No, I was thinking of the pit ponies. You see, back then, before there was even steaming ponies, they used ponies to haul the coal boxes up and down the tunnels. And before you start feeling too sorry for them, they were treated better than us guys down here. Oh, now, sometimes the roof is so low because that's how high the coal seam was. Sometimes just a couple of feet from the floor to the ceiling. Yeah, made for back-breaking work. Now, this particular type of mining is what we call room and pillar, because you had to leave pillars of coal here and there to keep the roof up. Oh, it was a bit of an art, actually, knowing how far to take it. Yeah, you needed to leave just enough coal to stop it all from coming down on you. Oh, now, see, those boys there, they're called trapper boys. They open and close the doors to control the air flowing to the mine. Other boys push the boxes of coal out of the room. Little kids, working all day in the dark. Some as young as 8 to 9 years old. That's how my grandfather started. A lot of families had no other choice. Oh, now you see that fella there? He's setting a charge. Black powder. And now first they had to drill a hole in the coal face. And then they got to pack in the powder using a stemmer stick. You know, that's made out of wood, not steel. Because the last thing he wanted to do was make an untimely spark. And then he set in the fuse, and he lights it and runs! Bang! It was a lot faster than chipping away at it with a pick. Oh, yeah, he's getting ready to light it now. You might want to plug your ear. Moving on. Time waits for no mine. So, what are we looking at here? I'd say this is sometime after the turn of the last century, maybe 1910, 1920. See how the lights change? Carbide lamp. It's a whiter, steadier flame. Very little soap, but it still caused an explosion though, which leads me to this. It's called a safety lamp. It's not so much about giving off light as it is about testing the air. You see, the flame's enclosed so it can't ignite the fire lamp. And when the color or the length of the flame changes, you know you've got methane in the air. If it goes out altogether, no oxygen. And that's not so good either. There's no more picks and shovels now. I mean, not so many anyway. It's these drills. They're run on compressed air. Now, the advantage of compressed air is no spark to ignite the gas. And see, still got the pit ponies down here. You know, in fact, I know they were still being used for some jobs right into the 80s. But now, they got a better way to haul the coal to the surface. Steam engines, you know, with all the changes, it's still dangerous down here. But we better get out of here while we can still see anything. Too late. A little bit of shoveling and I'll get this all cleaned up. Okay, we're now far out under the ocean floor, probably a good 5 miles and more than a mile deep. That's more like it. First thing you notice is how much brighter the lights are. They're electric. Finally, you can see something for looking at it. It's all electric. Dig in the hollow oyster ventilation. Now, this is called long wall mining. It's called that because the coal face is in one lump of wall. You see, they're using a machine like that. It's called a cutter. They can do the work of 50 men with picks and shovels. You see how it just moves along the coal face, digging at the coal. The coal gets pushed onto a conveyor and is carried along the tunnel. No more explosives. And falls like the one we just had, they're far less of a problem because the miners always under a steel roof, which is kept up by hydraulics called chocks. And from a miner's point of view, everything's much better. There's no doubt that it's safer and easier in the back because the machines are doing a lot of the heavy lifting. Which brings me to another change. This is called a methanometer, and it sniffs the air for gas. It's got quite a nose on it. It can detect any amount of methane in the air at all. And when it gets a whiff, this needle moves. No, I just thought about it now. With the canary, it's when it stopped moving that you had to worry. But with this, it's... Jumping Jesus! We gotta get out of here now! Those are the dragomen. They've always been our rescue squad. Bravest men I ever met. The miners are in good hands. I only hope no one died. You know, my wife thinks I miss being down here. I don't miss that, I'll tell you. That feeling that you'll never see daylight again. What I miss are the miners. Knowing each one of them had your back. And they say it's the end of an era. Well, they're probably right. The job is done. But we'll always be miners. Feel that. It was always my favorite part in the summer. The sun on your face. Well, I hope you enjoyed yourselves. Right. Go on with you.
Yeah, last one in, turn the lights out. Turn the lights out. Shut the door, please.
Turn the lights out, shut the door.
Original steel frame and brick. No windows, just one door. And then that was the hoisting engine. Now way back when it was run by steam, and I know they changed over in the 1920s to electric, and they would, the rope would come out from there, out a big, huge big drum, about 10 feet in diameter, about 20 feet, 15 feet long, and the rope all coiled around that. Of course, like you see, your shaft, the shaft are coming down. Huge big tropical swamp that died 200 million years ago, formed down this coal. And the beauty of this coal is it's a highly sought after coal. It's Nova Scotia. I'll start talking here so this can everybody around the corner?
Yeah.
Okay. Right here would be an entryway in a room and fiddle mine. Now it would start off as a room, but one of these places here, they would drive this in. I use the word drive, that's the expression we had. You would remove the coal and support the place with your local timbers, and they would go in as far as they possibly could. And then once they get in there as far as they could possibly get to, then that would be the end of it. But every 50 feet, as they'd offset here and there, they would then go in and mine the coal out. And that was your room. And below us, 50 feet, parallel coming in is identical entryway just like this. And of course you must have a ventilation system in a coal mine. Methane gas, as I reported, as I told you, in the coal mine. Once you start mining that coal, methane gas is released, and at percentages it will burn, at percentages it explode. So you gotta know and control that. So you'd have a ventilation system. So on the surface you'd have a huge, big, humongous fan. In my days, it was 420,000 cubic feet per minute, and we were 5 miles out, and we had booster fans. So in the 1920s, it wasn't that efficient. They had a fan, but not that efficient. But the air must run, coming in, pumped in the mine, must run on a disciplined circuit or path. And to make that happen, you put up these stoppings and doors. Way back in my days, we called them stoppings. Back in the 1920s, they called them traps. They trapped the air. Now, what they did was, the air, it would engineer it so the fresh air was pumped in the mine, and with these doors and stops and traps, that it would come to here, couldn't go any further, and the air was forced to go down below and all around and put fresh air to the working men that were in the mine. That's the whole purpose of them. And that, to open these doors, leave them open, you would short circuit that ventilation system. And it does three things, the ventilation system. Fresh air for the miners, removes all the impurities in the air as you're mining, the coal dust, and then the blasting process was a big part of this here, where they would blast all the coal down and free it from the face like that. So you had that smell in the air, and you had the methane. So you had that would purge it all out and send it all to the surface and keep fresh air coming to you. And to make that happen, they had these doors. Now here you'd have two little railroads, two little narrow gauge railroads. One road going here would be for the full box of coal to go to the surface, and right here it would have the empty boxes to go in. Now you'd have a young teenager driving a horse, hitch up to the box, the empty or full box of coal, and out he'd come. Now, to make that system run smoothly without any interruptions, they had an employee working here to work this door. Now, you heard on the movies about the companies that was here, the Besco and Dominion Coal Company, how ruthless they were. Well, if a coal miner in them days who lived in that company house and worked for this company, let's say Dominion or Besco, British Empire Steel Organization, when they came here, they lived in those company houses and they had to pay rent to the company. So if the miner father was injured or worse, his wife or widow, to stay in that house, she had to pay rent to that company. So in order for that to happen, she would usually send out her oldest boy, as young as 10 years of age, to go and work underground. Wow. This was from the 1800s up to 1925. Wow. So that 10-year-old boy would be here opening and closing this door for the ventilation. Wow. That's something. Most times through the regular tours, I get the families here, I get a little fella. Oh. And the girls too, that's obviously. I raised a daughter, and she let me know that everything's equal to that.
Legalized slavery.
Take that picture of this and I'm going back.
Oh, God. All right. Everyone get a chance to see here, or still taking pictures down below there?
I think you got everybody. Yes.
Okay. Right here is a room.
No, don't stand.
This would be an actual room with two Cape Breton coal miners. Now you'd be like father, son, two brothers, that sort of deal, or two guys that just trust each other and make a day's pay with each other. And they'll come into a place like this. Now this is the room. This discoloration, we're close to the surface. That's Copper's water. Anybody got a surface well or grew up with one? You dealt with this. But we try to deal with it. We're close to the surface here. Way further down underground, it goes away. But it's a little heartbreaking for us. But anyway, there's our coal. This is the machine, the Ingersoll Rand rated arm cutting machine, run by compressed air. Weighs 200 pounds, fully assembled. Comes in two pieces. One is the column here, anchored from the floor to the roof. There's a threaded sleeve in here, a rod in here, and you have a big steel bar and tighten that up to the roof as straight as you can possibly get it, as tight as you can get it. Then you would take the business end over here with the compressed air motor and with the picture on the end here, and you would bolt this onto the column. Then you would put on your air hose. It has two handles of operation. One handle here operates the picks that advance into the coal, and the other handle operates the machine that will radially back and forth the full width of the place. Now it's called a radial arm cutting machine. And the system that they used in here, this Roman pillar system, was called cut, shoot, and load. So what they would do was they would cut the place out using this machine. They would come about, I would go 3 feet from the bottom, and they would put on their cutting picks. Now their cutting picks, out on the end of this here compressed air motor, is what we call a chuck. And it receives a steel bar, a steel rod into it, and anchors it there. Out on the end of that steel rod, we have 3 cutting picks with 8 inches long, sharpened to a point and sharpened on the edges, and a triangle configuration. And that would do your cutting. So you're working your handles, you'd be working these 2 handles. I'm not turning this on because the noise is deafening. And no, I'm bad enough. But it make a sound like punch cut, punch cut, punch cut, punch cut, punch cut, punch cut, punch cut. That's the sound it makes. And they wouldn't hear themselves, they couldn't hear each other talk. So the dust is here, so it's cutting. They would cut out, they would go in, putting on longer steels, we call them steels, longer steel bars, and they'll cut the whole width of the place within 6 feet. Cut, shoot, and load. We've cut the place out. Now we've assembled this, drag her out to a place of safety, out 200 pounds of it, 2 of us, come back in here, take our air line, hook up to our boring hammer, Ingersoll Rand boring hammer, and bore a pattern of holes in the coal, top and bottom, and fill it. Now back then they had sticks of powder, but the blasting caps were inferior. In the 1920s they were inferior. And they would stick the electric blasting cap in the powder, push it into the holes by a wooden rod so it wouldn't make sparks, fill it with a clay that they made, by the stone dust, stemming we call it. The wires coming out, connect them all together in a series, wire it up to a cable going out there to a place of safety. Now, my days we had a battery, them days they had a magneto, I guess, wind it up and then hit the plunger and kaboom. Cut, shoot. Now we just shoot. Shoot means we just dynamite it, blast it down the coal. Because we undercut, the whole purpose of undercutting was, when we shoot the coal down, it would blow it out over the place, and it's right there. Because we undercut the path of least resistance.
Yeah.
The blasting cap detonates the powder explodes and expands, breaks up the coal, and rather than blow it all over the place, it just drops right there. And the same thing with the top. In we come. Cut, shoot, now we load. We load her in boxes. In we come, we look for smolders with little fires, and we look for misfires, where those blasting caps didn't go off. Personal story of me, my great-grandfather Reed, John N. Reed, was 43 years old, working in the mine since he was 11. Walked into a place like this in a number 6 mine, the village I'm still living in. The old mine's long gone. Walked into a place like this, did everything, secured the place up, put his shovel in the load out, and he hit a blasting cap, a misfire. Boxing Day, 1923, December 26th. No holidays then. Right after Christmas and right to work. Imagine. Anyway, I was born in 51, so I mean the story's told to me, but he wasn't alone. He wasn't alone. There was all kinds of those things that were just common. They were like common. You read it. They used to say that, grandfather, you read it in the paper. Oh, here's the miner here. That's very dangerous. So cut, shoot, and load. Now we come in. We put our timbers up. We scale down our roof for any loose stone. We put all our timbers up across here like this here to secure ourselves. We go out, we get 2 little rails, or maybe more, light little railroad rails, bring them in here, now using as few sleepers as we possibly could, just so that the rails wouldn't turn out, and push the box in. Push the box as close to that coal we could get, and start loading it in the box. Me over there, you here, whatever, and pick up the big pieces like that with our hands, and put them in the box, and the smaller pieces, they use this. Now this shovel is too big for this section, but it's a demonstration. Actually it was called a pan shovel. Look at that ugly looking. But the handle's too long as far as I'm concerned for here. But if it was a smaller shovel, make no difference. One guy on one side, I'm going backwards, I should be facing it. just to demonstrate, put the weight you got, and start putting the coal in the box. The old song, 16 tons and what do you get? Another day older, deeper than that. No, they wouldn't. If they got 16 tons, that'd be around about 8 boxes. My God, everything went perfect for them. Who has a day like that?
Yeah.
So something's going to go wrong. There's going to be a domino you're not going to knock over. So they maybe get maybe 11 tons a day. And when they had that box loaded, they're given a tag like this. These were called tallies. They have a big fistful of these. And that old sturdy string, that old tarry string, they would tie this tally to the box and send it to the surface. When it got to the surface, a company man there who weighed the box, called a check weighman, would look at that number, and up the surface, this number corresponded by the two names there, and he would weigh the box, subtract the weight of the box, record the tonnage, then, only then, did those two men get paid for this coal. If that number fell, in those days, if that number fell off, or it didn't get to the surface, the company sold the coal, they didn't get paid. Now that's the type of mining it was room work. There were other men that worked here on a day's pay, not for hourly wages, but for a day's pay. Guys that would be put at the railroad, construction workers, little rough carpenters, and guys looking after the pumps, men like that. Of course, your stable boys too look at the horses. Now there'll be methane gas here, and very briefly I'll handle this. Methane gas, specific gravity 0.55 is lighter than air. Between 3 and 5% if ignited in an atmosphere like we are here, it will burn. If you had pockets of it, if you have between 3 and 15% if ignited, it explode violently. Now in the summertime here, it's damp, it's moist. In wintertime, it would be powder dry. It's just the opposite. Every coal mine I worked in the wintertime in Cape Breton, with that cold air coming down, you kick the dust up in the air. And most mining explosions, methane explosions, happen in the winter. And in Canada, May is winter. In some places around here it can be. So they had to be careful of that. And what they did was, way back when, they had canaries. And they put canaries in little cages like this. And they put them down, of course, being lighter there, if the ventilation system is disrupted, your methane is right here, somewhere up around here. So starting down here is what you do. And I demonstrate this for one reason. Even all the modern equipment that we have with the testers and the modern technology, you start down here, because the methane's up there. Yeah. And up below, tweety, tweet, 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 tweety, 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 tweet, tweet, tweet. And right about there, my guess, if they had methane, he would go unconscious. We're still awake. Methane is colorless, odorless, tasteless, and not poison. It's a flammable explosion, but not poison. They use canaries because their little lungs are so sensitive and so small that there's not enough oxygen up here to maintain him, to keep him awake.
Everybody has to come up, they got reservations for dinner.
Okay?
If you can hear me, they got reservations for dinner.
Yeah. Oh, it is 12.
Yeah. All right, be that small. As long as we're that small, that's what happens.
Yeah.
So we're still awake.